This is a box we're going to make and show you how in this video. But just look at the insane green wrap and match around this box. Okay, let's get started. This isn't just a video about making boxes. While it is a box building video, this wood behind me is special. It doesn't look any special, but this is Bur Oak. This wood comes from a tree in Bob Woodruff Park in Plano, Texas. It was labeled the quincentennial Bur Oak and is the largest known tree in North Texas. This Bur Oak tree was over 90 feet tall, 17.7 feet in circumference, with a crown over 105 feet, almost 6 feet wide at the base of the tree. That was Plano's quincentennial tree. So arborists calculated the age of the tree to be about 400 years old and originally named it the quadricentennial tree. But after several evaluations, they realized it could possibly be over 500 years old. This Bur Oak may be twice the age previously thought, which is the reason they changed the name to quincentennial tree. Not knowing what to do with it, the city of Plano asked artists and woodworkers across North Texas to come and take the wood and make things out of it. So our North Texas Woodworkers group is going to take all this wood and all this lumber, and we're going to make beads of courage boxes and give those to the Children's Hospital here in Dallas. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I take a piece of this Bur Oak, something similar to this one, nice and wonky, crooked, old-ass board, and be able to turn it into a box, something like this. Look at this insane wood grain matching on this box, all the way around. Pretty little box with redwood interior and nice little handle. This is what we're going to make today. So this piece of wood was cut on a bandsaw. It's got a bow in it, about a 1/2 inch. So this thing is approximately 30 inches, and the skinniest it's 3 1/4 inches, and the widest it's about 4 1/2. Probably usable. That's down to 4 there. So what we're going to do is mark it up and show you how we're going to be able to get some pieces out of here to get enough pieces to make a 6x6 block box. So this is where we started, and you can see the twist or curve in this piece. It's not straight at all. It'll be a challenge. So here's the cuts I'm going to make in line. So I'm taking this board, then I'm going to cut it in half. That way it takes out some of the curve that I have that's bowed like this and only have about half that distance. So once I'm able to take that, then I'm going to cut a straight line here and a straight line across there. And so I'll put it on my taper jig to be able to make that cut, or if you had a joiner, you could put it in a joiner. Table saw and make cut 4 and 5 to where this will be the same width all the way across. Now, the next piece, the next item we're going to cut is going to be 6 and 7, and that is to put this in my planer, because this piece here has that degree of curve, and you're going to be able to take that out. Same thing over here, so that degree of curve. So once we get this flat, these two pieces flat, then we can come down, flatten the other side, and then cut this piece in half. All right, to line this up, you want to get this thing right on the edge, and you're going to tighten one end that up. And then the other end, you're gonna eyeball it. This is what you think that's gonna be. And we're gonna tighten up that guy. And we're just gonna kind of graze that all the way down and cut that as best we can. Okay, we got the cuts here, square and square. Now we want to do this. As you can see, these lines that are hopefully straight, how we're going to have to plane those. I can't even draw the line straight on that one, so you can see there's a fair bit to get flat. So we're going to do that on the jointer. You could probably do that on a planer if you had a planer and a planer sled. So these two pieces are flat on one side. This one's a little thinner than that one. You can see by a fair amount right here and a little thicker there. So now we're gonna run them through our planer and get that down. So we're hoping not to get it any thinner than what this is right here, and that's about 7/8. We can stop there, that'll be perfect, and then we'll resaw them. Because a section of this is a little soft and kind of punky. You see, we had one chip out, putting it on the joiner. So we cut this long enough to where we can have enough room to cut off the edges if we need to be able to shorten it up. So this is 15, and we're hoping to get two 6-inch pieces for a total of 12 inches. So I'll take the pieces and run them through the planer. It takes several times to get them to the exact smoothness that you like. So I got these planed and jointed and planed, and so what I'm going to do, even though they're just a smidge different in size, I'm going to go ahead and resaw those. This is the edge I'm going to try to resaw, so I'm going to have to joint this edge and this edge here because that's the stronger of the two, and I'll open this guy up like that. In this step, you want to joint the edge that you're going to use in the center of the book match. That way your edges are nice and straight, and you resaw it and you're ready to go on the joining and glue up of that particular piece. Okay, so here's the resawn pieces. This was one piece here. We sawed it in half so we can do a book match and go that way. Remember, we're going to cut these in half, so this will be two sides. The same thing over here on this side. So we can also take this piece and book match it in this fashion. Same thing over here. We can do this and book match it in that way. So you get a couple different looks depending on what you want to be the outside. So whether you like to have these little speckled medullary rays on the inside of your box, or you like them on the outside. There we go. All right, little dab of glue, and I'm just using tape for my clamping. Just make sure I got glue in there and the edge, and just let it fold flat. And all we're trying to do is get a good clean joint in here, and then we'll come in and sand that. So I have this little uneven spot on these boards on the glue up, and so normally I'd put these through the planer, but because I got a few soft areas a little punky, I'm gonna put them through the drum sander. You can hand sand these as well. That'd take a little bit of time, but that one's a lot tighter. So here we go. So I have my two boards laid out. And I'm going to attempt to have a continuous grain. So each one of these boards is about 14 inches. So I decided I would use a 2-to-1 ratio. So I want a side to be 8 inches and the ends to be 4 inches. And so that means I get 12 inches out of this board. So to get this, I'm going to make this part a side, the first 8 inches, and the next 4 will be the end. And to make this match grain continue, the first 4 inches of here will be an end followed by a side, and it will cut off this much. That way we'll use the maximum part of this book match for consistency. So the bottom edge of this is pretty rough because we got some punky wood. We are going to cut off a couple of inches, but I'm going to cut off about 1/4 of an inch to get rid of that. And then we have another rough edge about right here. So I'm gonna have to trim 1/4 inch off that side as well. Since these boards are slightly different lengths, I'm gonna cut them both at the same time. So I have this 2 ends butted up. I flipped over the piece, so I'm cutting off the waste piece for both sides. So here are my 2 pieces. So this is a side, an end, a side, and an end. So I want to cut that. So I want to cut this distance and that distance the same. So we're going to take this guy and put him over here and cut them both at the same time. Got my 2 pieces lined up. The ends are even. And that's my mark right there. So this is how they came off the table saw. This was the top piece over here. This was the side piece here. So that's the order that we will arrange them. Side, in, side, in. So here's approximately how the box will look. So for my sides, I want the side end to go long. So I'm going to take this and mark my rabbet cut here. And this is the height of the rabbet. And I'll end up cutting this out here, half the distance of the width of that. So I have both those 2 ends marked. Let me mark one more and then I'll be done on that one. So, number 1. So now I have those, and all we have to do is cut out that. We'll do that on a table saw, and we'll be good to go. So when I'm measuring for the thickness of this, I will always default to millimeters. So it's easier to take half a 9 than it is to take half of 13/64. So we're going to cut our rabbets about 4.5, maybe 5 millimeters. So I have where my rabbet goes right here, and I have the top mark. So I line that up by the teeth of the saw to be exactly on point to where it needs to be, and I'll cut that. Fits perfect. You can see how the wraparound will work there. Just enough that you can sand away to get it flush. Do that on all 4 ends of the sides, and we're ready to assemble the box. Okay, so I have all my rabbets cut for all my sides. And so this is what it looks like there. We don't have it pressed too tight. Come around and look at how the box is going to be all sides. It was looking good. The green match turned out nice. The green wrap looks fabulous. So when you go around here, you have a wonderful transition from the rabbits all the way to the end grain all around. Now, I do have a couple of soft spots in here on the top. One right there is a little chip out. So I'm gonna do something that I know wood turners have done, and I'm gonna take some CA glue and I'm gonna put it in here to harden up these edges, because this is gonna be either at the top or the bottom of the box, and it's gonna be handled and on and off. We need to have that a little bit stronger. So we'll just do that all the way around the edges.
So I started with my CA glue. This is just my normal stuff that I have. It's got medium viscosity. And so it would kind of sit on the top, and I had to spread it about a little bit because it was just thick enough. It really wasn't going into the wood.
Stop, hold production. I got a new and improved product. Hopefully it'll work for me. So after I put CA glue on here, and I had to wipe it and spread it around, and it set on the edge. He stopped by because my garage was open to give me some Paleo Bond. So I put a little dab on here. It absorbed in nicely and was a smooth finish, where the CA glue kind of set on top and created a layer. So I'm gonna try this Paleo Bond to be able to absorb into the punky wood. I think that's gonna do a better job.
So I first want to sand off the other CA glue that's just sitting on the top and buff that down to get it nice and smooth so I can get back to the main layer of the wood. Then I'm going to take this Paleo Bond, which is really a CA glue. It's just very thin. It has a less viscosity than water.
So it goes on nice and smooth, a little bit runny, which is good because we want it to be absorbed. So we're just putting a coat right on the edges. See, it starts to smoke a little bit. I assume that means it's being absorbed in there nicely, which it is. Ooh. Well, here's a piece of redwood that I'm going to make for the inside lining of the box. So I'm going to take this and resaw it to be able to get 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 inch pieces that I can use for inside box liner. So after cutting the pieces, make a little top, I made some inside pieces here, and I have them just glued to the walls. So it'll give us a nice finished look on the inside of the box, and the lid will be recessed inside there. So I decided to make a little decorative handle for the box. So I'm taking a piece of this scrap, and I'm gonna cut a little slot right in the middle of the top, and I'll shape this after I get my slot cut. So now I have my top in here in my mortise jig, and I'm gonna cut this 3/8 inch slot right in here so I have it set up. So let's get that cut.
So you'll notice I did a practice cut on a scrap piece of wood, and now I'm actually cutting the slot in the actual top of the box. So plunge cut router, 3/8 inch depth, pretty simple.
Well, there we go. So that's our top with the slot in it. Now we'll cut this to size and fit it in there, make it a little decorative feature. So now I have my handle, and I want to shape this, make it a round over, and then glue this bottom in. So welcome to the poor man's sanding disc. So clamp my drill to the table, clamp it on,
and you just sand away till you get the shape that you like. Good, bad, or indifferent. There we go.
Hey, so if you liked our video on this insane grain wrap on this little box, give us a thumbs up. Want to see more of our builds? Consider subscribing down below. And as usual, come back and see me real soon.